Hello, my name is Ana Sevilla. I belong to the Camille Research Group from the Department of Applied Linguistics of Universitat Politècnica de València. I'd like to talk to you about the European Language Portfolio, which is a very useful tool for language learners or learners who learned a language in the past and would like to have a record of their progress, their learning, and their competencies in that or those languages. The European Language Portfolio is a document in which language learners or people who learned a language in the past can record and reflect on issues such as their language learning as well as their cultural experiences. All the information about this portfolio can be found at its dedicated website, and the address can be found on screen. You can see it here. That's where you should go if you want to learn more or have more details about this portfolio. The parts of the European Language Portfolio are a language passport, which includes a grid describing language competencies, a language biography, and finally a dossier. The language passport can and should be regularly updated by its owner so that it reflects the dynamic process of learning. Here is how the portfolio looks. This is the passport. You can find, first of all, information about the Council of Europe, then information about the passport and how it should be used, and then at the lower part you can find a box in which you can write your name. The language passport provides an overview of the individual's proficiency in different languages at a given point in time, and that's why it should be updated regularly. The language passport provides an overview which is defined in terms of skills and the common reference levels, which are provided by the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. This passport records formal qualifications and describes language competencies and significant language and intercultural learning experiences that the learner thinks are worth recording in this document. It also includes information on partial and specific competence, which means that it gives more detail than just a single certificate, and it also allows for self-assessment as well as teacher assessment and assessment by educational institutions and by examination boards. The type of assessment can vary, as I tell you, but it requires that the information entered states on what basis this assessment was carried out, when, and by whom. A standard presentation of a passport summary is promoted by the Council of Europe for ELPs for adults. That means that all adult learners can also have their own portfolio with details that are more relevant to them. This helps to facilitate pan-European recognition and also the mobility of individuals in Europe. The language passport includes a grid where language competence can be described according to the levels established by the Common European Framework, which is accepted throughout Europe. It can serve as a complement to customary certificates because it gives more detail and has also into account personal experiences of living abroad or being in touch with speakers of a different language. Here is the grid. As you can see, you can state your mother tongue, then you say the languages you've learned, and finally you say the level of each language, and you have to describe your level skill by skill, because you might have a higher level in one skill than in another one. These are the levels taken from the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, and you can see the description of the different skills: listening, writing, speaking, and then also the use of English, and the different levels from A1 to C2, which could be the highest level. The second part of the portfolio is a detailed language biography, which describes the owner's experiences in each language, and in this case the biography is designed to guide the learner in planning and assessing progress. It facilitates the learner's involvement in planning and also in reflecting upon and assessing his or her learning process and progress. This means that the learner has to be active in his or her learning and has to be critic too, because he or she has to be ready to assess this progress. In this way, this biography encourages the learner to state what he or she can do in each language and how well, and also to include information on linguistic and cultural experiences that were gained in and also outside formal educational contexts. This means that not only the academic learning is relevant, but also the learning outside the classroom. The language biography is organized to promote plurilingualism, for example, the development of competencies in a number of languages and at different levels. This is the way the summary of language learning and intercultural experiences looks. You can see different boxes that make reference of different aspects of language learning, and you have the little boxes in which you can take each of the aspect and the level. The third part of the portfolio is a dossier where examples of personal work can be kept in order to illustrate one's language competencies. So the student has to choose among all his work the pieces of work that reflect better his or her learning and how well he or she has been learning. The dossier offers the learner the opportunity to select those materials and also to document and illustrate the achievements or experiences that are recorded in the biography and in the passport. This portfolio was jointly developed by the Council of Europe and by the European Union. This means that it has recognition throughout the whole European Union. You can find a list of validated models of portfolios at the address you see on screen. There you have different models, because there's not just one model, but there are several validated models, and these models vary according to countries and also to educational contexts. So they're chosen on different bases. They used to be examined by a European Validation Committee, which accorded an accreditation number, but now this process is finished. In December 2010, the Portfolio Validation Committee ceased to exist, and the process of validating the portfolios ended. So from April 2011, the validation has been replaced by online registration, which is based on the principles of self-declaration, either by the student or by the person responsible for learning, like a teacher, etc. Further information, I can tell you that it was developed and piloted by the Language Policy Division of the Council of Europe. This means that it has gone through a very exhaustive validation process. It was launched on a pan-European level during the European Year of Languages to commemorate this year, and it can be considered a tool that supports the development of plurilingualism and pluriculturalism. The final versions of the models that were validated were accredited by the Validation Committee, and they can be completed or downloaded from the Europass website. That's the address you see on screen. And it can be completed in many languages, many different European languages, as you can see again on screen, depending on the language you would like to have your portfolio, and also depending on the language you feel most comfortable with. Thank you very much.